what I want to consider for the sketch is not necessarily drawing everything, because there's a lot in this image. I don't know that I need to draw everything that's in here. And so I'm going to try to more pick and choose. Okay, what are the shapes? What are the colors that I really do actually want to focus my time on? I think in general, that's a pretty good place to start. I'm not really somebody who feels that drawing the entire reference photo is a good idea. In fact, a lot of the times, I think you're not as creative when you just copy the reference photo because you don't have to think so hard about it. But also, I don't know that drawing everything in the scene necessarily gives you a better drawing. So if you're going to draw along with me, which I would love, think about what parts of the photo you're going to draw from, because drawing all of it is not always better. And I'm going to do a lot of squinting, because actually when I look at it, this white down here at the bottom is pretty strong, and actually a lot of the bowl is somewhat in shadow. Oh, that gray didn't help very much. I guess I was a little bit too light. Oh, this is not very even. And I'm not going to do a lot of line work. Instead, what I want to try to do is more hint at the patches of color that are in the scene. For example, this red napkin is pretty dramatic. And I don't really care if the drawing right now looks good. I'm just trying to say there's red here, there's white here, there's orange here. I'm trying to look at the distribution of the colors. I think right now is much more important. Ugh, this green is not even close to being that green. See if I have a new pastel that's maybe a little bit better for that. Maybe, ugh, that's still not even close. It's a really specific green. Okay, that's a little bit better. But again, I'm not that worried about it, because right now I'm just trying to put down some colors just to say, okay, this is about orange, this is about brown, and that's good enough for this quick sketch that I'm doing. There's actually a lot of blue back here. It's probably not as saturated as I have it, but I'm not worried about that again, because right now it's more about just laying down patches of color. I mean, the star of the show is really these cookies. And yes, they were better than they look, which I know that sounds ridiculous, but they really were. And it tastes better than it looks, which is very unusual, because I think I've definitely eaten things in my life that I thought, oh, those look so good. And then you eat it and you're like, oh, it's okay. These, I knew they were going to be good, but they were better than I thought they were going to be. Because the little cookie on the far left, the flat one, when I saw that cookie, I was thinking to myself, oh, that's probably like a shortbread. It's probably hard. But it wasn't. It was like a little pillow. It was very poofy. If you don't know what I'm talking about, these are all treats that were made by my mother-in-law, but we call her the bread fairy because she does this thing. She just shows up at our door with treats, totally unannounced. And it's like, oh, I made this. We had some left over. You want it? I'm like, of course I do. So she's the bread fairy, and she makes these extraordinary treats and cakes. I don't know if anybody saw the spider cake that was on my Instagram story the other day, but she's actually going to be making another cake tomorrow for my older daughter, and it's going to be the cat bus from Totoro, because that's what my daughter wanted. So that should be really fun. And I actually do have a tutorial of my bread painting, but have not had the time to edit because, oh my God, this week was just invoices and emails, and it was just so annoying. So I just have not had time to get to the fun stuff, which is frustrating. All right. I'm not going to do all the colors, but I just want to get a sense of the cookies having a little touch of yellow to them. I'm not going to spend that long on this sketch, but I do want to indicate, okay, like these little patches of blue. I mean, she has an incredible assortment of china and dishes, and they all have different meanings, and we all have to go and pick our own dishes when we go over there. It's this whole experience. But, oh man, these patterns are going to kick my butt. Who else here is looking at the patterns going, I don't know. I'm not a pattern person. I know Lauren is really into patterns, but I am not. I'm not good at it. So we'll just see what happens today. But I don't want to shy away from it. I definitely want it to stay part of the image. So we'll just see where I go with this. This should be a little bit darker, I think. The plate is so much darker than I think it is. It definitely has a shadow, especially in this area, like that. See, I'm looking at this. I already feel that I'm adding too much. I feel like I should cut back on some of the images. Like, I don't know that I need both napkins. Maybe I only need the green one because I got plenty of red going on in the middle. Tell me in the chat, who here thinks I should take away some of these items? I mean, the cookies are going to stay, trust me. But who knows? Maybe I don't really need this cut back here. Although, maybe I need the complementary colors. The blue against the orange in the cup could work out really well. And then I do like that there's one baby cookie in the background sitting by itself. Yeah, so I might get rid of the napkin. I don't know if I'll, It might just be these three. And then what I could do is maybe extend the tablecloth more so there's sort of a sway to the image. Yeah, okay, so if I like cover up these two and I just focus on these three, I think that might be a better plan. Yeah, it's all about the cookies in the end, but I do think these two objects are getting in the way. All right, let's see what everybody is saying in the chat. Fiona is asking, which one do you generally prefer, oil or soft pastels? I don't really have a preference for a lot of things. For me, it's more a question of, okay, does this material fit the effects that I'm trying to have? And if the answer is yes, then that's great. I don't generally have favorites with art supplies because I use so many that it's hard for me to say, oh, in general, I always like this better. Venus is asking, I feel like you're always doing live streams. What's the schedule? Actually, we are starting a new schedule next week. Prior to next week, we were streaming daily, but we're not going to do that anymore. We're going to stream Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Rest of the week, we're going to be off. But the reasoning for that is so that you guys can catch up on our content, because I think we have too much right now. And so that we can focus more on editing videos, like the Bread Fairy video that I have been dying to edit, have not had time to do that, and just to focus a little bit more time on a range of content. So you'll notice that lately we've been playing around with shorts. We've been doing videos that are summaries of our longer live streams. And so we are hoping that having a broader range of content in different lengths, shorts, 10 minutes, an hour, 2 hours, is going to help all of you guys with that. WC Lee says, using a pastel board, I find it not toothy enough for myself. Well, I'm going to find out because I have no idea what it's actually going to be like. It's a rigid board, but it does have a tooth to it. I mean, it's not perfectly smooth, so I imagine it'll have some degree of that. Shell Ray says, I'm eating cookies right now. The reference pics made me hungry. Who else went to the cupboard and got some cookies out? Because, yeah. HT Pokepack says, maybe on one of the non-live stream days, there could be a stage session on Discord. What we're going to be doing for the stage sessions, we'll have one once a week with myself and another staff member. I'll probably do a bunch that are just me, but definitely once a week, me and another staff member, and we'll do that after an art along. And I am doing a stage session today after today's art along. So what I would recommend you do is go to artprof.org and look at our live stream schedule, and you'll see that we have noted where a stream is followed by a stage session. So the stage sessions will always be in response to after a live stream. Fiona is asking, why do a lot of artists generally use gray paper? For me, it's because, look at this. You see how the white, it pops. I couldn't do that on a white sheet of paper. White on white doesn't work. The other reason is because if you draw any color on white paper, you're always going to have the white grain of the paper showing through. Like, you would have to layer it so thick to get rid of that grain. It's almost impossible. And I just find having this ground of color is really, really helpful. Okay. I admit I'm a little nervous to work on this. First of all, I've never used it before. Second of all, although I have to say, thank you so much to Ampersand for providing the pastel board that we are using today. So thanks to them, I have the opportunity to use this pastel board, because honestly, I don't know that I would ever buy it because it's a little bit pricey. So like, it's a great chance that I have, but I feel a little nervous because I know it's nice. And it makes me a little bit nervous about drawing on it. Okay. And I think for that reason, I'm going to start very light, like crazy light, because I'm just very nervous about it. It's pretty big, so there's going to be a lot of squinting today. I think a lot of people, their first impression would be, okay, just stick the plate in the middle because it's the biggest. But I know from my thumbnail that I want this diagonal sweeping motion to come into play. So for that reason, I'm actually going to put the plate up higher in the upper left-hand corner. So if we start the sketch, maybe I'll start the plate up here. I probably should draw it bigger, because otherwise I'm not going to be able to make the cookies as big. So I'm just sizing it, like I'm saying to myself, okay, I need enough space for the pattern down here. I want a little room for the green napkin. I do want to do the mug, but I think the plate, well, I don't know. I might want to do the plate. Who here wants the plate in the background? Tell me in the chat, because I do think it might help with depth, especially because there's another cookie back there. And you'll see that these cookies are bigger than that one. So that's a really good use of atmospheric perspective, where you have the same object repeated, but it gets smaller in the distance. I'm thinking I probably want to add it, but I'd like you all to tell me in the chat. I mean, if I put it in, it's going to be very minimal. I'm going to try to not make it such a big deal. I mean, my first impression, this stuff is pretty rough. I mean, it's way rougher than a sheet of paper. I mean, this is pastel paper, and this feels very smooth. This is very, almost like there's steel wool or something on it. Although I'm wondering whether this is going to wipe off with paper towels. I'm trying to see if I have any paper towels lying around. It looks like I don't. Okay. I wish I had a fuller scene, because I sort of wish I could draw the rest of the napkin. So I don't know. I sort of like this little rim, that plate, but I don't know. Maybe that's... I have to try to not do too much. I do that a lot with my pastel drawings, where I just try to include everything. And I don't know that that's always a good idea. Okay, so just very briefly, these patterns in the front. And I'm going to make these bigger than they actually are, just to emphasize that they're in the foreground. Like that. All right, so that was really nice to not stick it right in the middle, because now it's a little bit offset and I can see better exactly where I want this to go. I'm sketching a little slower, I think, because I'm feeling a little bit nervous about the material, and that's okay. I mean, that happens. And now it's cookie time. By the way, the jam that's on the cookies, it tastes like fresh strawberries. I know that's weird because you think, oh, it's jam. It's like eating a fresh strawberry. It's amazing. And in fact, because it's made from fresh strawberries, this particular jam, the bread fairy gave us a big jar of it. She actually said to us, oh, you have to keep it in the freezer. I was like, really? She's like, yeah, because otherwise it's going to rot in like a day. Like, it's the fresh strawberries are just going to die. So we put it in the freezer and it defrosts pretty fast. And it really tastes like fresh strawberries. It's incredible. I've never had jam like that in my life. Okay. Really briefly, I'm going to block in the general shapes. Now, does everybody see on the plate? There are two things I did. I did the outline. I did the center shape, which I think is actually a little bit too flat, but whatever. And then does everybody see these ridges that are on the plate? I don't know that those are going to necessarily make it into the final drawing. I may end up ignoring them. But I do think that they're important as far as showing the direction of a form. Because I think without those, you lose the structure of the plate. And notice also the plate is not round. It's got these like curvy sections to it, like what I'm adding here. I mean, this is a great exercise. We have not done a lot of still life recently. And these are the types of things that drawing objects challenges you to do. That you're not going to get this in a portrait. You're not going to get this in a landscape. Definitely not abstraction. So this is a whole other set of muscles that we're exercising today. They just happen to be with tasty treats. So these cookies, these ones in the background, the poofy ones, was very funny. And you can see the photos on our Flickr page. So if you go down to the video description, there's a link to the album on our Flickr page. It's called Bread Fairy. And I took a whole photo shoot of her making the cookies. And when she was making the cookies, she like pressed this little thing in the middle because the idea was that the jam would go into this like little valley in the middle. But the thing is, the cookies poofed up. So it wasn't really a valley with jam. They just went up, which is hilarious. I mean, they still tasted amazing. Like, we did not care that happened. So that's why these are puffy. And then these two are obviously, this is like a little sandwich cookie, which was great. You can see the jam like oozing out. Okay, so there are the cookies. And same thing with the mug in the background, little indication of some of these patterns. Nothing super specific, but I think that this matters. And the lighting is coming from the left-hand side. So that's definitely something to keep in mind. And I think I made this a little bit too big. So let's do that. All right, so that's a pretty good initial start. And I'm going to tell you all what my plan is. Who here does that? Who here, when you begin a drawing, you make a little bit of a plan for how you're going to go about doing it? And I think my plan is to make most of the drawing fairly fuzzy and not very well defined, and then really define the cookies. That's going to be my plan. Who knows if it's going to work, but that's going to be my intention. All right, let's see what people are saying in the chat. Seven Angelic says, so at Art Prof Con, we're having these cookies. Yes. Well, I think the bread fairy is going to need some minions to help her do that. I mean, she made our wedding cake, which was incredible. It was a dragon and a phoenix. Saleh says, but it's kind of your choice to have the plate or not. Some other things give some depth. Yeah. And that's what I'm trying to do in my drawing, is to figure out, okay, depth-wise, what is a larger priority? What can fall back a little bit more? I find that very helpful. Becky is asking, is the Rembrandt paper any good compared to Canson? This is the pad I was using for the quick sketch that I did. So it's Rembrandt, tone industrial gray, drawing pastel, acrylic, squash, ink, and charcoal. I think some of this is a matter of personal taste, because this paper is fine. I like that it's toned, but my personal preference is pastel paper that has a little bit of a texture. I like seeing the lines, but that's me. I mean, some people may not like that texture. Some people may like it to be a little bit more smooth. So for me, Becky, it's not, is one better than the other? It's more, which do I prefer? There's not enough of a difference for me to say, oh, this one's inferior. I think that they're fine. There's not a gigantic difference. All right. Seems like a lot of people like the plate. Pink lilacs. Ariel. Yep. Okay. Let's add in that plate. Anna says, I think the plate adds atmospheric perspective. We're a big fan of that here at Art Prof. And W315 says, I have some clay board that I want to do egg tempera on. That should be yummy. Yeah, boards are really great because while paper is affordable, it's not as rigid. I mean, this is rigid. This is almost like having a stretched canvas, but it's a drawing. I have to see what it's like later. I don't know if I'm going to put spray fix on it. I've never done that before. So we'll see. Ron Nook says, please do Instagram lives too. We did Instagram lives way back before we knew anything about what we were doing. And they did not do very well. I mean, granted, we weren't that good back then. We didn't really know what we were doing. But I think right now, with all the changes with stage sessions and the new editing and everything, I think we're going to do this for a little while. We could add it on later. It's just budget-wise, I don't think we can handle it. So, yeah. Cospa says, as far as a plan, there are times I definitely go in with at least an intention and go with the flow along the way. All about balance, so it's enjoyable. Dogbit says, I definitely plan drawings and paintings. The main light focus will be here. I want to put this color here. Yeah, a lot of people do that. Amazing Alicorn says, what are you using to draw? Mostly the pastels I like. This is New Pastel. These are a little bit more affordable. These are great, but I really like these Rembrandt ones. These are more expensive. So if you're trying to save money, this is not the set to get. But I did have a very generous donor who gave me these. And these are Terry Ludwig pastels. And they're pretty good. I like them. I mean, they're very chunky. So they're not good for details, but I did like this set a lot. And that same donor also sent me these which are Diane Townsend. And these are strange, aren't they? I mean, I feel like I'm drawing with a cookie. It's very strange. I didn't like them that much, but I could see how they might be useful. So yeah, we'll use a bunch of these. And then maybe some of you can give me tips. All right. Let's get into the color. And I think, see, I should really resist this temptation to just put in the darks first. I think I'm going to go for the grays. So actually, I definitely need to even out some of my pastels. Like, I think you guys saw earlier when I was doing this. This is not good. Like, you want to roughen up the edges a little bit like that, so that if I want to put down a big streak of tone, I can do this. That is the result you want. This is what you don't want. You don't want this. You see how this is very uneven? This is much easier. And you can see on my pastel, the part that I evened out is here. This is the part that is not evened out. That's not going to look so great. Okay. So this is a nice plain grayish color, and I'm going to use it just to block in little bits. Oh, I like this board. It feels really good. Oh, guys, I'm a fan of this board. This is cool. It just feels very solid, feels very rigid. I'm a fan. I like this. And I have to just attack this. I don't know. I'm having a lot of hesitation today because of the new board. It's making me a little bit nervous because I haven't used it very much. But I think I just have to get over that because that's dumb. Okay, so there again, I've evened out the edge. So it's nice when you're doing soft pastel. Have another sheet of like scrap paper so that you can really go in and change things up, because eventually you're going to need to do that. Yeah, see, like here, if I do this, that's not very even. You're going to even it out. It's going to work a lot better. I think I have to try it. Oh, wow, that is so vibrant. Oh, my God. Oh, guys, I love this board. Okay, thank you, ampersand. I never would have bought this board otherwise because it just seems too nice. It's such a nice board that I don't really feel like I want to use it for that reason. Maybe a little... I kind of like that limey green. I know it doesn't match the color that's in the photo, but I sort of like it more. I don't know. I might actually keep that color. Although, I don't know. Maybe it'll take away from the red. We'll see. But I think for this first pass, I got to stay really light. I'm trying really hard to not press down too hard. And I'm going to do a lot of squinting. Please remind me to squint because I just know I'm going to forget. Especially with this scene, like I really have to keep an eye on the lighting. I think if I don't do a good job in the lighting, it's going to fall apart. And I'm trying to decide, do I draw the white pastel around the pattern, or do I cover it white and add the pattern on top? I don't think I want to do that. I think I want to do it around. You know what I'll do? I'll do like something light. Okay, so let's do a light pass of white over everything, and then I'll keep layering it on top. Maybe that's the way to go. Oh, I still feel very timid right now. I don't like that. Okay, loosen up. Just loosen up. I was hoping that that thumbnail was going to help, but I don't know. I guess I'm not quite there yet. I just really like the rough texture, and I don't want to lose it. And so I guess part of me is a little bit hesitant for that reason. I don't want to like lose that. Oh, that feels great. Yeah, like when I press hard, it feels amazing. I like this way more than paper. Although I don't know what the price is on these because Ampersand sent it to me, but I don't think they're, I mean, they're definitely more costly than paper for sure. But I don't know. I might just want to keep it like this. And you know, I'm not going to do the plate on the bottom. I think there's just not enough of it. So we're just going to let it go off the page like that. And actually, the edge of this plate's pretty important. So just for like a minute, I just need to pull it out because I feel like if I don't, I'm going to lose the plate. And I don't want to do that. There, that at least emphasizes that. And then back here, I'm going to get really fuzzy. Pull some of that atmospheric perspective. See, you know what's strange? The less defined, fuzzier part of the drawing is harder for me. I have a much easier time rendering and making something detailed. That is so much easier for me. I know that sounds strange because a lot of people would say, oh, well, definitely the detailed part, that is the hard part. And I'm like, no, the detailed part is easier because I know just to go all the way. And the thing about the less articulated parts, you don't always know. You're like, oh, should I do a little more or a little less? Tell me in the chat, who here is like me and finds some of those passages actually more confusing than the parts that you're doing full out detail for. This board is awesome. Guys, I am such a fan. I am very excited about this. Okay, and so even like back here, I want this to be very muted. That's another thing I want to do. I would play with muted colors, lots of mud, and really like, I want these to be like jewels. I want the jam to just be like gorgeous. But for that to happen, I have to make sure I keep it toned back. Like this is already way too saturated. I'm going to have to bring a lot of this down, probably with some grays. Because you know whose colors make me really jealous is Degas. Like, how does he know how to make that one passage so freaking good? Pink Lilacs says, I also use a tiny desk vacuum to suck up the dust from pastels. That is really smart. I've never done that before. Fiona says, my pentels feel rather sticky and dusty at the same time. Is that normal? I don't know which particular pastel you're talking about. If it's soft pastels like what I'm using, they shouldn't feel sticky. They should feel just dusty. W315 says, so rub the pastel into the paper or nah, I'm using white watercolor paper and toned a bit with watercolor. This is my personal preference. I don't tend to like a lot of smudging in pastels because I get very worried that my colors are going to get super muddy. That could be just my little hang up because I tend to worry about that a lot, but it's up to you. I do think that a lot of people over smudge. I think a lot of people smudge so much that you just lose the spontaneity of the mark, and I don't like that very much, but it depends. A lot of this is personal preference for sure. Pink Lilac says, also when using charcoal, mini vacuums are fantastic. Mine was $10. Oh, it's that cheap? Maybe I should pick one up. That sounds like a great tip. All right, let me get back into this. More squinting. I need to just put it, I'm definitely feel a little bit right now like I'm walking on eggshells, and it's all because the board is so nice. I really, and it's dumb because I didn't even pay for the board. Ampersand gave it to us, which was very generous. And yet I'm still like getting over this like fear of a nice art material. Does anybody else do that? Like you sort of freeze up when you get nice art supplies, at least because when you're on a budget, it's really hard to loosen that up. Okay, we got to get into the plate. The plate is so important. I do feel that I'm using a lot of white, but I think I have to right now just to put down a foundation. It's not going to stay that way, but at least like up here, the edge of the plate, if I squint, it like blends into the background. Like you almost can't see the edge of that plate. So I'm going to run with that. Here you see it, but there's the red napkin in the way. I think I'm just going to let it dissolve a little bit more. And now here the plate gets dark and then the tablecloth gets bright. Okay, and this edge is pretty dramatic too. Oh, I knew this pattern on the plate was just going to kill me. I am not great with this stuff. But I'm going to deal with it. I think it's easy to say, oh, there's nothing on the plate. Yes, there is. Come on, deal with it. And then even here, there's like a little bit of this bright, there's like really bright stuff. Actually, this is more like a bright yellow. So I'm going to just toss in a little indication of this. Oh, there's so much. Oh my God. This is a lot. Yikes. Yeah, this is not my forte. Doing all these highlights is really hard. And soft pastel is not my thing, you guys. I mean, I know I'm demoing it, but it's not exactly my forte. But sometimes I think it's better to see a tutorial with somebody who's not good at it because it's a little bit more relatable. Like sometimes when you see people paint, it just looks so easy, and then you go to do, you're like, nah. I mean, there's, I think, valid reasons to do both. I think it's great to see somebody who is masterful and knows their stuff, but sometimes it can be a little bit overwhelming. Tell me in the chat, what's your take on that? Do you guys prefer to see somebody who is like masterful? Or do you find that maybe you can learn quicker because you watch somebody else struggle through the same things? Or is that just a bummer because they're not good at it? And a bunch of our tutorials definitely fall in that category. I will admit it. I mean, we can't all be James Gurney on gouache all the time, you know? Because watching him paint, that really is masterful. You are watching a master at work when you watch James Gurney paint with gouache. Or whatever, he's great with everything. With painting, he's a true painter. Okay, we have to get to the cookies. I don't know about this color. Let me see. It's pretty yellow. You know what I'm going to do? I think I'm going to do the yellow first, and I'll layer the white on top, and let's just see how that goes. This I am going to make pretty bright. And I'm going to press down really hard because this is it. This is like the main event. So I don't want to hold back. Definitely want these to just like glow on the paper. We'll see how far I get today. It could be that maybe this is going to need another session, but we'll see. Maybe I should have put the white down first. Let's try this one over here. I'm going to do white first instead of the yellow. I don't know that it's going to make that big of a difference, but it might. So let me try the yellow on top. Oh yeah, I like that better. I should have done the white first. Oh well, I'll just bulk up the white here a lot more. And it's nice the way that they're randomly distributed. It's funny because we have a bunch of tutorials that demonstrate how to set up a still life. And it's in a very calculated way, like really thinking, okay, where do I want to place this? Does that create a diagonal that I like? And that's one way to set up a still life. But another way to, quote, set up the still life is just let the still life happen. Like, I did not set this up. It was just on the table when we were eating the cookies and I snapped some photos. And so sometimes still lives are better when they are not planned, when they're just totally spontaneous. I don't know that this is something I'd want to set up. It might look really fake. So try both. One still life is not better than another, but sometimes it is nice to have control and to dictate where things are going to go. And other times you don't need it. Really, really depends. Okay, this cookie's pretty yellowy. It's a little bit more burnt sienna, but I'm just going to block in a bright shape. And there's beautiful lighting that's coming on here. From the left, I feel like that cookie has a little tongue. Doesn't the jam look like it's just sticking out its tongue? I just love that. Baked goods, they have a lot of personality. Who here bakes? Tell me if you bake. I love baking. I don't do it as much as I should, but when I can, I do. In fact, I made banana bread yesterday and I was like, oh man, could not stop eating it. You know that thing when you go into the kitchen, you're like, I'll just have a little slice. And you cut a little slice. And then you walk by, I'll just cut a little slice. And you're like, I'm not eating that much. It's just a little slice. And you totally are. You've eaten like half the thing. I'm really going to push the lighting. Lighting is so important. It really helps things become cohesive, especially in a scene like this. And I think I'm going to use, it's a little bit more of a yellowy red. And this, I really want to stand out. Like that is the main event. These two, and I might actually leave like a little spot undrawn so I make sure I have space to do those white highlights because, oh man, those are fun. Might not make a difference. I mean, you can just put white over. It might be fine, but I'm just doing that for now. Who's drawing along with me? I'm going to show these to my mother-in-law later. I'll tell her about all of your drawings if you guys make them. Because you know what I've discovered about her food? Everything she makes has a story. And I love stories. And I love food. So it's a perfect match. Because she's just got hundreds of cookbooks and she takes things from different books and puts them together into the same cake, and it's really fun. Oh, that's so cool. That red is just like glowing. Oh, I'm a fan of this pastel board. Also, it's not an accident. The pastel board that I chose has a green tint. I know it looks gray on your screen, but I'll show it to all of you later in the Discord. You'll see that it's got a gray tint, which is actually really handy. Okay, let's get this little one in the back. Just like hinted. Actually, it's got like a pretty reflection. Does everybody see that? And then actually you can see a little bit of the color. This is an apple plate that she has that I love. I mean, I feel like every time I go to her house, whatever's on the table is a still life. It's gorgeous. So it's really something. Okay, let's see what everybody is saying in the chat. San K says, I want to know her cookbook recommendations. Oh, there's a lot. I should do that. Maybe. We'll see. Okay, here's my dream, is that we have enough budget here at Art Prof that I don't have to do so much administrative work. Because right now I'm just bogged down. Emails, spreadsheets, and I'm doing all of that. And it's so time consuming. And I just cannot make time to edit those tutorials. And the thing is, we can't afford to hire professional editors because they're expensive. And I know people say, oh, hire interns. You know, interns are more work because you got to teach them how to edit. And at that point, I may as well have edited it myself. But my dream is that we get to a point where I don't have to do as much administrative work. I can just focus on these. And I want to do a whole series of video tutorials documenting the making of all the food, me painting the food. I mean, I would love that. And to like share family stories, because everybody in my family, we all have very strong connections to food. I think everybody feels that way, that food is more than just the food. It's like, you guys ever have this one smell that you smell and then it just brings you back? Like there's this one chicken corn soup that my mother makes, and you make it from a can of creamed corn. It sounds boring, but it's really good. And I hadn't had that soup for a long time. I decided to make it, and I opened the can and this smell came out, and it's like I was 3 years old. It was so powerful, the nostalgia. And so what I want to do is tell the story of all these things being made, paint it, and then tell that story at the same time. So it becomes a family story, a food story, and an art story. I want to do that, but I don't have time right now. It's driving me crazy. So we'll see. I'm hoping that will help. Thank you so much, Tom G, for the super chat. Art and cookies, a perfect match. What's not to like about art and cookies? Thank you so much for your support. Every single contribution you make to Art Prof helps us make sure that, number one, we stay up and running, and number two, that we keep this community alive. Cool. Louise is drawing along. Ilsa says, the warm red of the jam looks so beautiful against the white and yellow. I mean, that wasn't an accident. I knew I wanted this to be pretty minimal. And so when I went in to the cookies, I like really pressed down hard. Oh, cool. Tom G says, drawing along, going abstract. Details give me a migraine. Margaret says, I'm mid-renovations, looking forward to getting out the mixer and making my grandma's banana bread after I unpack all the kitchen stuff. Mostly an assemblage, cook otherwise. Johnny says, I like watching tutorials I can learn from. Preferable someone with some experience can describe their process in an understandable way. That is such a good point, Johnny, because I have definitely seen artists who are like super accomplished and they're so good at what they do, but they can't explain it. That definitely is a whole other skill that doesn't have a lot to do with being a good artist, actually. And I've seen people who are not as accomplished, but who are very good at explaining. Ideally, you want both, but it's hard to find people that really can do both at the same time. Walbert T says, we also learn with their struggles. It's nice because you feel like you're learning along with them. Yeah, I have so much fun. I feel that every tutorial, I am learning stuff, even though I'm technically here demonstrating. I'm really loving that part of it. Soleil says, I like watching people who are masters, but I also really like watching people who aren't that good. People who aren't masters make some mistakes. It's easier for the viewer to learn from them. The mistakes are half the battle. When I taught at RISD, so much of the time I spent telling students, don't do this, don't do this. Like one of the things that I always told students in a printmaking class when I was giving them guidelines about how to use the presses, which are really expensive and you can mess them up if you do something dumb. So I would say to them, listen, never, ever put a pencil on the press bed. Never. I don't care what you're doing. Because somebody once did that. Not in my class, but I heard about it. And I'm like, oh, that's really, really bad. W315 says, super helpful to see uncertainty in trial and error, because that can be a benchmark for me and gives me a better idea of how I'm doing. Yeah, and there is such a thing, in my opinion, as just things looking too easy. And then what happens is when you go to do it, it's not that easy. You go, oh my God, what's wrong with me? There's nothing wrong with you. That's just the way the process is. Alice in Wonderland says, is it easier to blend on the pastel board? Is there less dust than with pastel board? Let me see, because I do actually want to smudge out a couple of these sections. So let's just see what happens when I do that. Oh, you guys, I like this. You know what it is? The pastel board has a certain amount of tooth to it. And so actually when I'm blending, it's not that easy to blend. Like I actually have to sort of press down hard. In fact, I wonder if maybe I would do better. I'm looking to see if I have paper towels. Oh, I got a rag. Hang on. I might actually need the rag. Oh, yeah. Okay, so this is interesting. If you have pastel here and there's not like a lot of it, it's hard to smudge. So let me see if yeah, even on the sections here where I have a considerable amount. Okay, so I would say if any of you are wanting to use the pastel board to smudge, I really recommend a rag. That really helps a lot. There's still quite a bit of dust here. I'm not going to blow it or anything, but I'm just going to go in with the, yeah, so the rag really helps. Because with regular pastels on pastel paper, I don't ever feel the need to use a rag. My hands, like, see this? I'm trying to smudge this and it's not really doing much. Like here too, I'm smudging it, but my finger isn't really affecting it that much. Oh my gosh, guys, I might like never use pastel paper again. Like I'm really into this. This is great. Yeah. Oh no, I'm getting a little smudge happy. I'm like really enjoying this a little bit too much. I mean, I'm not going to leave it this way. I'm blending a lot right now, but what I'll go in is I'll bring things back is what will happen. Because I do like the more direct strokes, but what I like to do is smudge first and then put the direct strokes on top. So that way there's a little bit more of a difference. Yeah, let's like really smudge this out. This plate back here can really almost disappear. Like that. And I actually might use the grayish green in the plate. Like I might actually not, because this actually is kind of a nice color for the plate. I kind of like that. That's really fun. I'm so surprised. I did not expect the smudging to be so resistant, because normally I associate smudging and soft pastels as just like being all over the place. That's more how I think about it. That is really fun. I'm very excited about this. In fact, I might try to like push it more with the rag. Do you ever feel that there are artists who are with you as you draw? Degas is with me right now. So is my friend Kathy Speranza. I'm thinking about her marks. Sometimes I find that helpful. I feel like I just want to smudge everything. Let me just see. Because sometimes that's like a nice ground. And then you can like pick and choose more what's happening. Yeah, I'm going to do that. I'm just going to smear everything to death. And then I'm going to bring it back. Because I really want the cookies to just sing. That is pretty fun. W.C. Lee says, but it can clog up the tooth, though, if there's a lot of pastel on the board already. I haven't gotten there yet. I'll let you know if I do. But right now, it's not bothering me at this time. Jan is asking, how do you put depth into an artwork, even in pastels? It's atmospheric perspective. We have a stream. So just look up Art Prof atmospheric perspective. And it's about scale. So for example, this little cookie in the background is actually pretty important because it's so much smaller than these ones in the foreground. And so that makes it feel further away. And then also, if you have objects in the foreground that are more crisp and articulate, you make stuff in the background more blurry, that is also another way to get depth. All right, I got to bring my photo reference back. Debating whether, because here's the thing, when I was looking at the drawing by itself, it was starting to make sense to me. And then I brought back the reference photo and went, oh, there's all these details. Now I'm getting distracted again. I'm going to do a little bit more smudging, actually. And you know what? This rag is too big. So I'm just going to cut it into a smaller piece. That will make it, I think, easier for me to play with. I'm just going to smudge out everything because that'll give me like a good base to move from. Because I do love the texture, but right now it's getting in the way. And like back here, the back part of the big plate, I just want that to like fade. I want it to like totally disappear into nothingness. It sounded very existential. So yeah, I mean, like this is starting to get really blurry, but I'm not worried about it because I'm going to pull it back. And it's going to let me pick and choose more deliberately what's going on later. Yeah, like this is all too much contrast back here. I'm trying to get rid of it. Even see, I think I went too much on these yellows. I'm going to scrub all these out. I think that might help a little bit more. This is that point in the drawing where it just looks terrible. It just looks like a big mess. Does not look good. But you gotta start somewhere. All right, let's bring back this little cake in the back. And I want to keep the reflection that's on the plate and pull out a little bit of highlight back there. And you know, what I'm going to do here, for me at least, it feels more similar to painting than it does like drawing. I'm sure you've heard people refer to pastels as being painting. Some people refer to it as drawing. I mean, it's up to you, whatever you want to call it. But I love that idea, that the pastels can feel more like a painting. I'm going to rub out this a little more even. Okay, there's some more even layer. I'm going to start to punch in some of the contrast back here. I'm going to try to keep that background fairly abstract. I don't want to do too much. But I really want to show my strokes. That's very important to me. Okay, and let's pull in that mug again because the mug disappeared. I'm going to keep it pretty choppy looking. And I think I deserve to do some darks now. I just have to hold myself back because I love dark colors. I love value, and yet I can really screw myself over if I do it too soon. And that's one of the reasons I wanted to smear everything to death first. figure out what that color is. It's not really peach. This is a little bit too bright, but I'm going to tone it down. Maybe I'll do like a little patch of blue over it. Yeah, that might work. So little yellow ochre to show the shadows, but it's not that warm, so I'll go in with some blue in a minute once this is in here. Like that. Because it feels good to put those strokes over the smudged pastel. That feels amazing. Okay, so if I take like, this might be too saturated. I don't know. Ooh, I don't like that. Maybe the new pastel will be better. But like if I do this like sort of frosty shadow color, it'll make the orange more gray. Like this. Might need to be a little darker. But the shadows here, they're pretty minimal. Like they're not that dramatic. I might be due to shake this out because I'm getting a lot of dust here. But I'm just going to leave that for now. Oh, I need more red. I think this jam on this side was not quite enough. Actually, this one's messier. Okay, now they look like they're floating a little bit, so I think I better go in just a couple touches of shadow underneath. Actually, maybe I need more like this, more like a turquoise. Ooh, that is like really saturated. Maybe this purple would be better. Yeah, I like that better. That has a little more contrast. I'm just going to skip around and show little touches just to place them a little bit, give them a little bit more gravity. Like especially this one has a lot underneath. Like that. All right, I think I need to do another pass of some darks. Like here, I really need to, like, I think on this spot right here, I can really just go to town on those darks. Really block that in. I don't like to use black in the beginning. I can put it in later, but at least right now, I think it'll get in the way. So I'm just going to stick with purple for now. But later on, there will be black for sure. Okay, so that gives the drawing a little bit more structure. I know for you all, this looks blue. This actually is purple. It's just the webcam is not so great with accurate colors. ComCuke says, I love when things are blurry, but it's so easy to overdo it. Yes, that's why I try to stop myself. It's really, really easy. Sankei says, I read somewhere that Degas didn't smudge. Instead, he layered his pastel so it looked like he smudged it. I'm not really sure. Who really knows? He does a lot of hatching and a lot of layering. I know that. I mean, it's pretty hard to not smudge with pastel, but I don't know. All right. We have a lot of people channeling artists. W315 says Wayne Thiebaud. Awesome. Oh, and this is nice. Anna Weeder says, I love Philip Guston's quote about ghosts in the studio. That is cool. Fiona says, it's looking like something in a dream. I like that. A memory. Pink Lilac says, your plate looks great with the white edging, makes it look like silver. Yeah, and some people might bother me about that and say, the plate wasn't silver. Why does it look silver? And I'm like, so? You guys don't know. The whole accuracy thing. I'm like, guys, just chill out. It's not that big a deal, okay? See, I feel right now that this is where it's starting to get fun because it's all laid out and now I can start really picking and choosing and making decisions. And that's where it gets really fun because everything I did before this, it was all set up. It was all like trying to say, oh, where do I put this? Where do I put that? And now that things are in place, now is when it starts to get fun. But I got to be careful not to overdo it. I think it was this week, Alex and I did a stream about mountains, and I used watercolor pencils, and he used acrylic gouache. And I looked at my painting later. I thought, oh man, I should have stopped like a half an hour ago. Like I really felt like I overdid that piece. Sorry, that's my phone. So I'm going to work a little more slowly, but it's so that I don't overdo it because I can see myself doing that really quickly and then regretting it big time. This is a really nice brown that I have right now. It's got a very soft feel to it that I like. So I think it's going to be helpful for me trying to organize some of the space. You know, I think I need to dust this out. So let me see. I have to grab my trash can. I'm going to pick this up. You get to see my computer. I'm going to have to try that mini vacuum. That sounds kind of awesome. So whoever suggested that, thank you very much. Okay. We're squinting. I think, move this over a little bit. More squinting. I'm trying to really prioritize things. I'm going to get a very dark green. Maybe this one. It's not as dark as I wanted it to be. I think I got to put in these patterns. I think this is not going to work without these patterns. Let me see if this Terry Ludwig is better. Oh, this is much better. Okay, it's a lot more powdery than the Rembrandt. I kind of like it. And down here, I'm going to do more just direct strokes. Because I don't like the idea of like drawing the pattern on. I want to just like look at the shapes that I see and go from there. Because I do think it is easy to look at a patterned cloth and say, oh, let's just draw the pattern. But it's more than that. You'll see that parts of the pattern are darker, parts of them are lighter, and I think it's not good to think about drawing it on. I think there's more to it than that. So that's what I'm doing right now. Smudging certain parts, leaving other parts a little bit more dramatic. I mean, I'm glad this has patterns. Otherwise, I feel like this whole bottom area would be so boring to look at. Ah, crap. Ooh, these are like really crumbly. Did you guys see that? Like the whole corner just broke off. Sheesh. Okay. Although I do press down really hard. It could just be me. Yeah, I kind of like that. Let me add some of these pinks. So maybe something a little magenta-like this would be good. This is a little bit too pink though. I think I need maybe this one. I'm not sure. I mean, this is where it's nice to have several pastel sets because sometimes the colors are not quite. Oh, this one's much better. Okay. Yeah, the other one was too pink. Yeah, this is really helpful. Just to start distributing the color a little bit more. And now what I want to do is like kind of push these patterns into the cloth. So what I mean by that is like really showing this wrinkle, which is in the cloth, and showing this wrinkle, which is like a highlight where the cloth is. And that gives it a little bit more depth. And here too, I'm going to brighten up. So you can see my treatment of the cloth is pretty loose. Like I'm not that accurate about it. I'm not accurate about it at all, in fact. And here I'm going to put a little glaze of blue because I want to distinguish the table from that green cloth, just like a color change. And maybe this green is better. I'm not happy with this lime green. The lime green looks kind of gross now. I thought I was going to maybe like it, but I don't like it anymore. Yeah, so if I layer some of that green, let's get rid of the lime altogether. That I think is helpful. Let's try that. Yeah. I lost some of the green down here though, so I think I need to pop in a couple touches into the patterns because I like this dull green, but I think it's a little bit much by itself. I think if I start filling in just to get some of that. Yeah, that feels a lot better. I think it wasn't it was a little bit too dull for my taste. Okay, that was really fun. I really liked doing that. Yay. See, it's like the setup is so boring, but this is so fun. This is really fun. All right, I don't even care how it looks. I just am having a good time. Oh, this is not even. Okay, let's do that. I'm just giving like a little touch to warm this up a little bit. Although now I don't like it. I'm just going to draw over it. I think it was a little bit more than I wanted it to be. All right, let's see what people are talking about in the chat. So Angelic says, some of that pink on the cup inside. Oh, yeah. Thank you. San K says, looks dreamy. Cool, I'm glad. I don't want it to be ordinary. All right. I want to pump up the contrast. I got to get back to this, but I don't want to do that much more. I want to walk away sooner. I always stay too long. How many people here think that they stick around too long? Like you want to be somebody who exits at the right time. You don't want to be the TV show that hangs on for too long and just makes you sad that the show just went from being so good to so bad. I mean, a lot of TV shows are like that. That is not uncommon. Especially when they have like a terrible season finale, series finale, and you're just sad. I mean, I didn't watch Game of Thrones. A lot of people were really into it, but I know a lot of people were like very mad about the way that the series ended. But I don't know. I guess when a show is that popular, you're not going to make anybody happy because people have like really strong feelings about things. I'm just trying to hint at some of the patterns back here, and I'm going to smear them in because I don't want them to be too articulate, but they do need to be there. Like there's this sort of swirly line. I feel like this is a Gustav Klimt cup. I'm going to have to ask her where she got this cup. Because again, like everything in her food, every dish, every cup has history. It's beautiful. I love it. I have to say, I won the jackpot with mother-in-laws because, oh man, have I heard some stories. Yikes. It doesn't sound like the easiest relationship sometimes for some people. So I'm very lucky. Yeah, because part of me wants to render everything, but I know I should not. I know that's a bad idea. Let's put in a bit of the Terry Ludwig back here because there is a little bit of pattern. Not a huge amount, but there's like little speckles of it here and there. I don't want that to be lost, like especially back here. Because it does look strange if you have the pattern in the front, but then it's nowhere else. That's a little bit weird. So I do like to push it around. And there's also, you know, like there's little touches of red back here from that same flower. Over here. Even back here, there's a little touch. So that fills in the space, I think, a little bit more. All right, let's get into the yummy part. I want to beef up the red back here. I think it got a little bit dull, a little bit smudged. All right, let's dig into this plate. I'm going to do the patterns, but the cookies need more work. And you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to put in these little white spots because I need them. I need them to get the gloss. I don't recommend blowing that like I did, but I just wanted to get that little piece off. Make this really bright. Like that. This is my favorite part, like putting in these little highlights. I don't know. It's just like, yum. It's so fun. Oh my God. Because I think beyond these little spots, I don't know that this drawing needs more. Like I want to keep that really blunt, luscious feel to the image. Like here, this little like trickle of white. I don't want to lose that. Actually, I should add a little more jam around the side. I mean, yeah, these need more definition, but not that much more. I gotta stop before I get too excited. But I do think I need to show like these ridges that are really specific, of course, to the cookie. Like this big patch of burnt sienna. But yeah, I'm going to really try. You know what? I would rather walk away too soon than kill it. So that's going to be my goal. All right. And if it really looks unfinished, I can always go back. But I was just so mad that I spent too long on that mountain drawing And so I think I'm going to try to stop sooner. Like it's probably going to hurt me to stop sooner. I'm going to want to keep going, but I'm going to make myself stop. So I think once these cookies get a little bit of articulation, and once I can put in some blacks, I think I'm going to really try to stop a lot sooner. Yeah, like these shadows here are almost like green. I wonder, maybe something more like a very light brown back here. I don't really like that brown. Maybe more like this green. Yeah, I like that better. Okay, let's go for the shadow. And this is actually pretty dark, so I'm going to really go in hard on this shadow. This one a little bit, not a lot. This one's got like a little wart in the side, which I love. It's great. And this one actually does show a little bit of shape, so got that. It's close. I want to do a little bit more on the plate and maybe bulk up some of the reds because some of them got a little bit dull. And maybe I should do like a little bit of a dark red. Actually, this might be nice, this dark Terry Ludwig red. Maybe in just a couple spots, not everywhere. But just so it's not like the same red the whole way through. And I think I do want to blend them in because I don't want them to be that harsh. And maybe another pass with the lighter red over that like this. And that brings back the saturation. I think I'm going to do the blue marks. Oh, this is too bright. I don't like that. Maybe this is a little bit. Oh, that's still really bright. New pastel, help me out. It's still really bright. Come on, you guys have to have a less saturated blue. That's too intense. How about this? Still pretty bright. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do this blue, but then I'll maybe do like a pass of something else on top. Okay, so here's where I really am going to like hint. Not going to draw the full outline of everything, but I'm going to definitely say to myself, okay, there's something in there. Let's just hint at some of those lines on the plate. Because I think that's where people get screwed, is when they really try to like accurately follow the plate really perfectly. And then it's like really hard to do. So what I try to do is like little hints of the plate in the background like that. So see how here a bit of the plate like disappeared. Like I didn't draw the whole thing, but that gives me a lot more freedom because then I don't have to draw it super accurately. Like that. And yes, I know some bits wonky. I know. It's not news. And actually here, I'm going to use something even darker. Let me see if there's like a, that's too brown. I need like a blue that's darker than this and a little less saturated. I guess I need like the 5,000 pastel set in order to find that. But oh well. And with these patterns, I'm just going to like dance across the plate. I mean, this is really fun for me to hint at that stuff, not feel like I have to draw everything. I mean, some of them I might, like maybe this one is a little bolder. Ugh. So maybe some of the ones in the front I'll be more specific about, but like the ones that are on the side, not worried about that. By the way, I want to give a shout out to Chemical for You. Thank you so much for the super chat. We greatly appreciate your support. So helpful in terms of us staying up and running and me not being afraid we're going to die next month. I'm sorry to be so dramatic, but I have had months. I'm like, it's definitely improving, but we need your help hitting that Patreon goal, because I don't want to be around for 2 more months. I want to just be around. That is the goal right now. Okay, so in this spot here, I'm going to really like draw the literal pattern. But the reason I'm doing that is because it's so close. Like, this is the closest part of the plate. The stuff back here I'm not as worried about, because it can be fuzzier, it can be more vague. And so somebody had asked earlier about, okay, well, how do you make depth with pastel? And this is one of the ways. Make the stuff in the background a lot blurrier, a lot less clear, and inevitably you'll have more emphasis on the front. So what I'll do now is I'll go in, I'm going to smudge out some of the spots back here so it's present, but it's not like really showing itself. And I'll do the same thing here. I mean, I'm sure there are people who are better at drawing that can literally draw the plate, but I don't want to. Like, it just hurts my head. What was it, Tom G? You said it gives you migraines? Yeah, this would give me a migraine too. I'm lucky I've never had a migraine, but I've heard that they're terrible. So, and it's nice also to see some of the pattern that's like in between the cookies. Like, see this? Isn't that really pretty? Like the blue that's in between, although I drew over the cookie, which I shouldn't have done. But I feel like this just really gives the cookies a context that I really enjoy. Okay, no matter how this drawing comes out, I'm having a great time. So there's no such thing as wasted time when you're having a good time. Because I'll tell you, I have a hard time justifying just sitting down and making work. Because I'm like, oh, you got to do stuff for Art Prof. You have to do this, you have to do that. But that's why the draw-alongs are so fun for me, because I'm like, yes, get to draw and not worry. And it is still for Art Prof and awesome. All right, let's just do another pass on the edge of this plate. So I think this is very important. And then a little bit to show these like highlights. Although I want to use that light yellow again, because that yellow was nice. And same thing, I'm not going to draw every single mark. It's just like enough to show the general movement of things. Yeah, that was a mistake when I did them earlier and I had them all like super, that was dumb. I shouldn't have done that. It's much better now. Oh my God, there's so many little like spots of highlight back here. Like, I didn't even think about them until I got here and realized, oh, who knew a plate could be such a pain in the butt to draw? And now look at this, where the front of the plate, it gets very soft because it creates like these ridges. So I'm going to smudge some of these up like that. And then that gives the plate a little bit more form. Same thing here. I'm going to add more here on the side to show that like roundness. A little back there. And back here too, I want to show a bit of that ridge. It's pretty helpful. Oops. And you get a better sense of that plate. I'm going to smudge this in a little bit too. I think this plate edge is a little bit rigid. So what I'm doing right now is I'm going over it and I'm going to smudge it in a couple spots. So it isn't so defined. Like, I don't want it to be like that. All right. Kei Fu says, I think it's amazing how adding a bit of the pattern and hinting at it gave the piece more overall depth. It also helped the cookies sit on the plate. The plate also no longer looks silver. These little things matter, and a lot of people will draw things with pattern but leave out the pattern. And I think that I understand that impulse because it's hard to make patterns. But in my opinion, if you leave out the pattern, you're missing out on an opportunity to really say something about the character of the plate. W.C. Lee says, one good thing about the pastel board is the sealed and the pastel can be washed off. It used to be, not sure about it nowadays. Oh, that's really cool. I love that. RB Dick, I love your comments. You're so positive. That's what art is about, having a good time and being happy on top of it. It is. Because even if I'm having a crap week, this makes me happy. And I didn't have a crap week. I just had a boring week. I'm like, if I have to write one more invoice and write one more please pay me, it's so boring, but necessary. Let's Go Graphics says, it's beautiful. You did detail all over them, then the cookies wouldn't be the star of the drawing. Yep. Emphasizing the parts you want to really be important. Zinnia says, hello from Pakistan. Awesome. I love when people tell me where they're from. And Pop Tart says, drawing over the cookie and then redrawing the cookie works because it makes it truly look like the pattern continues under the cookie. Yeah, you got to be careful when you're drawing around things, because sometimes if the pattern gets in the way or it looks like it's like around the cookie, it can be a little strange. See, Cantrell says, you might say that the setup is, quote, boring, but I think it's all about those sexy cookies. Yes. I mean, it's no Hugh Jackman, but it's sexy in its own way. I don't know why Hugh Jackman's been on my brain for so long. I don't know. He keeps coming up. Like, I go through these phases where I'm just like Fassbender all the way. I don't know. I haven't been thinking about Fassbender as much. Kane Feathermore says, do you spray the finished piece with something so it doesn't smear? I'm going to try fixative because I've never used this board before. I don't know how it's going to react, but I'll try it and I'll let you guys know in the Discord. Risty says, I always get addicted to highlights and add way too many. It's just so satisfying. Yes, I know. It's hard for me to hold back. Like, I really want, oh my God, it's really hard. Chemical says, hey, Clara, I want to thank you and your team for your great work. I have just made some pencil drawings from your draw-along. Greetings from Europe. Cool. Well, you should join the Discord and post it in the Art-alongs channel because I love seeing what people are making. ComCuke says, what do you do when you want to draw but don't have the energy? Like, I want to make art, but something is stopping me from starting. It's okay to not make art for a little while. I took a 2-hour nap yesterday, which I feel incredibly guilty about because I really should have been working on the new website, which, by the way, we're hoping to launch next week. But I think some of it is just putting the hand to the paper. So one thing I do is I will just take the tool. Like if I'm sculpting, I'll just put it in my hand. I won't do anything. I'll just put it in my hand. But sometimes having it in your hand, oh, there's a sketchbook here. You just have to physically put it on the paper. I know it sounds so boring, but it's helped me in the past to do that. I want to say thank you to Nina Land for the super chat. Greatly appreciate your support. And same thing with Boris. Thank you both for your support. We greatly appreciate it. Juan says, for oil painting, do you prefer natural brushes or synthetic? Honestly, I just go to the art store. I feel up the brushes. Oh, I like this one. I'll buy it. Like, I don't even care if it's synthetic or natural. Like, I am not picky about brushes at all. Okay, let's do some black because we need a little bit of that. And then I'm going to really try to step away because I'm going to regret it if I don't. Where's my black? Of course, now I can't find my black, which is not very helpful. I could have sworn that this Rembrandt set came with black. I could be totally wrong. Maybe I used it up? Oh, that's going to make me sad because I love putting black in there. I suppose I could cheat and use a little bit of charcoal. Oh, wait, is this black? No, is this gray? I can't tell. What the heck is that? That's like gray. How can I not have black? This is so bizarre. It's the one time. I'm going to cheat and go grab my charcoals. Hang on a sec. My art supplies are so out of control. It's so bad, but I did locate. There's got to be a charcoal something in here. Who here knows what I'm talking about? You know what? I bet you there isn't. Oh my God, I think I moved them to another box. Hang on. Okay, I just like unloaded my whole shelf, but I did find it. Look, there's my Hello Kitty comb. All right. I'm just gonna nab, I think this is charcoal, is it? Half the time, I don't even know. Yes, okay. You won't tell anybody, right? Okay. Like this one spot here, I want to be a very like dark pocket of shadow. And I want this edge here to pop as well. I mean, black is something I really try to use sparingly because it can really kill a drawing very fast. But right now, I think I need it to get some of this contrast in here, like that. In fact, this green napkin, it sort of disappeared. So you know what? I'm just gonna get rid of it. I don't need it. I think it works a lot better like that. And that happens a lot too, where you don't anticipate that that is going to be the case, but it ends up working out that way. All right, and then maybe I'll let this transition into some purple. Smear that out a bit and pull in a little bit of white back here because there is a bit of a highlight. I'm going to go off the edge. I'm going to do a little bit more on the cookies because they could just use another pass of white. Maybe just to punch up some of the cakey parts. I don't know, the parts that are like sticking out a lot. And then I can shake it off and you'll see better what I'm talking about. And of course, I'll post a better picture in the Discord because obviously on the live stream, you can't see it that well all the time. I do want to round off some of this cookie and give it just a little bit more texture. It has a lot of texture on the side, and I feel like I sort of ignored that. So maybe just there. That's a little bit better. pull out these highlights. I'm walking away. I am not touching this because I am going to deeply regret it. I might work on it more, but at least for now, I got to walk away before I kill the whole thing like I did in that mountain stream. So everybody, I would love it for you to join me in the Art Prof Discord. We're going to do a stage session. You want to join me in the stage session. It's a channel. It's called Post Livestream Stage. And the text channel is Art Alongs. So if you're lost and you don't know how to get to the stage channel, just go into Art Alongs and people in there will give you a hand. Discord invite link is in the YouTube video description below. And remember, stage sessions are voice. You can talk to me on voice and you can type a question. I can answer on voice, but I love them. They're so much fun. Subscribe to our channel so you can continue to grow and develop as an artist. And a big thank you to our top Patreon supporters. You are all so important to our community for us to stay up and running. And a big thank you to everybody who joined me today. I love drawing with you, hanging out with you, hearing all your comments. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye.